The Temple of Sigmar is basically the focus of the Sigmarite religious cult within the Warhammer world.
Do you know what this looks like now that I've been there?
It was that church we went to yesterday.
Yeah, it looks like Notre Dame.
We went to Notre Dame yesterday and didn't realize that Mass was going on, and I was raised Catholic, and I panicked because we were taking pictures, and I thought there was a guy just giving a tour, and it was the homily. And very awkward. I'm like, I need to learn French. So inside of the Temple of Sigmar is the Sigmarite faithful, the warrior priests of Sigmar, who is a warrior god. And as you're moving through this temple, again, you start to hear rumors of conspiracies. You start to realize that there's actually chaos cultists that have insinuated their way into the church. And that's one of the things that you need to address as the city grows. And those are stories that unlock narrative chains that sort of build over time.
That's right.
Player monuments is something that we really actually are very excited about.
Let me talk about this for just a second. So this is something that is so unique to our game and something that we really believe in strongly as far as building the community. So go ahead, Josh. This is a cool thing.
So traditionally speaking, the way that you kind of know who the best players in the game are is by them sort of shooting their mouths off and being irritating. Here, we actually shoot our mouths off for them. We erect huge statues, monuments to individual players who have achieved great things in the game. So if you have been one of the most significant contributors to the overall RVR campaign, to overall realm pride and the glory of your race, statues will be erected in your honor in the town square. This will be a place that you can go to and say, check me out, I'm super awesome. There's a giant Jeff Hickman statue in there at the moment. Unfortunately, only Jeff will be able to be the Jeff Hickman statue.
Isn't it the one right
It's actually that one. You can't. I filmed it from the back.
It's that one right there, right?
I filmed Jeff from the back for reasons that I don't understand. But regardless, but I would obviously want to come in and knock down the Jeff Hickman statue, and then go to him and say, hey, I took
yes. So as an invader, I can come in and I can actually desecrate these statues, knock them to the ground, take trophies from them, take them back to my guild and go, look, I invaded the city and I knocked down their cool trophy statues.
The head of Hickman.
Pretty awesome.
Yes. And again, everything that's in the game serves a purpose sort of functionally for the friendly players, but can also be destroyed. It serves as a target. Awesome. And again, as we mentioned earlier, characters from throughout the Warhammer IP, famous characters like Gotrek and Felix that you might have read in some of the Slayer books over the years, they're in the game. Obviously, the Emperor Karl Franz is in the game. And then for all of the races, the types of iconic characters that you would hope to meet and interact with, they're all throughout the world. And in a capital city, as it gets more and more prosperous, you will attract more and more of these epic heroes from the Warhammer world, which will then give you the opportunity to interact with them and quest with them and so forth. But it also gives an invading player the opportunity to go in and fight one-on-one, toe-to-toe with Karl Franz, or to take on the Slayer Gotrek. So check out the Griffin.
He's awesome. So some of the biggest and best encounters in the game happen within your enemy's capital city. When you are looking at their capital city and see how prosperous they are, see the visiting dignitaries, that is an opportunity for you to go and battle those NPCs.
Yes.
They're absolutely fantastic. Beneath the city.
And as we mentioned, all throughout the capital cities, there are rumors of different things that are going on, locations that are going to be opening up in the future, things that you're actually working towards. So for example, within the Undercity, there's actually an entire second city below Altdorf, a sewer system. And again, as you're hanging out in taverns and talking to drunk random people, they're going to be muttering incoherently about giant rats, and you're ignoring them initially.
Looks like a giant rat right there.
Well, that's a pretty big rat. But as you move through these underworlds and the city sort of opens up, more and more interesting things unlock, and eventually you see a dead rat man. And you go, maybe the drunk guy is not so crazy. And then you move through the sewers and you eventually realize that actually there's a Skaven infestation under the city. There's an entire additional race within the game that you aren't aware of when the game begins that you then get to interact with later on.
That's crazy.
And so the Skaven have actually drilled down and they've built an entire Skaven underworld underneath the sewers of the city that are huge dungeons that you can unlock and go and participate in. And I'm just going to show them the thing at the end. My favorite thing that they've done is that we've gone and put in these little water bottles like a hamster would drink that are full of warpstone, which is like evil moon cheese in a bottle, and I love this Skaven. It's good. So. And again, one of the challenges that we face is making sure that we offer all of the same facilities and structures to every race in the game. And so for a race like Chaos, where you have the inevitable city, which has really never been sort of fleshed out in any of the other media.
Never.
It's spoken of in whispers. Chaos isn't going to bother to build anything. They're chaos. But it's so chaotic, they would just inevitably have a city. And it's got a name, as we mentioned before, if we said it, your eyeballs would boil out of your skull and your head would fall off, and you'd all turn into bunny rabbits.
So we'll just call it the Inevitable
So we'll call it the Inevitable City because it's easier to pronounce. And all of the things that you would find in Altdorf, you find in a sort of corrupt and weird way in the Inevitable City.
Right.
So we're just going to run through some of those really quickly to show you the parallels. So again, we showed you the city square in Altdorf. Here's a city square in the Inevitable City. First of all, you obviously have the giant chaos warp in the background that's sort of pulsating and so forth. You've got huge monolithic towers of energy that are shooting up, crazy zombies wandering up and down the stairs. And whereas you might go to an apple cart vendor in Altdorf, you might go to a guy that's got a dude chained to a table, and he's like, "You need some food? Have a piece of Bob here. He's delicious." Tea for tea. And so, as you move through, all of the things that you would find in Altdorf, you find in the Inevitable City in a twisted sort of way. So, for example, if we had the Imperial Palace in Altdorf, you'll have Charzanic's Tower.
How do you say that again?
Charzanic.
Say it again.
Charzanic.
Good.
The apostrophe is important. And again, Charzanic is a chaos champion. The chaos god that we focus on in our game is Tzeentch, the Lord of Change, but his sort of manifest representative on the ground is Charzanic. So that's an imperial, a huge chaos champion that you get to eventually quest on behalf of as a member of Destruction, or fight your way into the Inevitable City, fight and kill as a member of Order.
Awesome.
So that's his crazy tower in the background. I think, oh, I love this shot. Can we just sit in silence? It's pretty cool. Stare at the pretty stuff. Okay, moving on. The pit is one of the sort of unique locations within the Inevitable City, where really the forces of chaos are barely controlled at any time. So we've kind of built a thing in here where as a member of the faction of Destruction, you can just kind of roll down into the pit and challenge some of your brethren to a fight. You can just pick a fight with a Beastman, punch him in the face a few times, stab him in the gut, go down with other players and fight them, things of that sort. That also makes this an extremely dangerous thing that's just sitting in the middle of the city, because it should be dangerous. You should be able to fall off the side and explode, and you should be able to come down here and have a Beastman eat your face, and things of that sort. There should be chaos giants just sort of sitting around.
And what about as an invader?
As an invader, you also have a giant pit full of Beastmen and chaos giants and exploding faces and terrible things. So there are interesting, cool, random things that show up in the Inevitable City. And again, facilities. It's a very boring word for a very important thing for an MMO. We have to offer you all the same basic things that you've got in Altdorf. Banks, auction houses, vendors, stuff like that. But we want to do it in a way that sort of is evocative and chaotic. So this is what a chaos bank looks like. Now, this is an in-process version of this. The eventual version's going to have crazy souls flying up out of the ground. This is the voice of the soul. I'm playing all of the souls in the game.
It's good.
And so this is sort of a chaos bank, which is a cool enough place to visit, but you really want to go to the auction hall. The auction hall is this crazy sort of like barbecue pit gone terribly wrong. It's a little bit like this, where you've got spikes everywhere and holes to fall down into and piles of things that are burning that have faces. There are tables along the side that Jeff made me cut out the close-up shot of because the placemats are human faces. Things like that. So again, the idea here is we offer you all the things that you would normally find in a city, but in a really sort of unique and interesting way.
Right.
And again, you'll have the ability to have player monuments. In this particular case, we wanted to show you what initially the monuments aren't there. You have to actually earn the right to build the monuments. Then you have to distinguish yourself and have a monument built to you. One of the other interesting things that we've got in here, as I mentioned previously, Tzeentch is the chaos god that we focused on the most.
Right.
But you never get away from the other three dark gods. So within the Inevitable City, there are...
this is my favorite.
There are wings in the city dedicated to the other chaos gods. Now this one's kind of bulbous and